Good morning, everyone. Welcome into Awe Studio Art with Everyone. I'm going to talk today and paint a picture that will bring vitality and boost your energy. It's going to be using reds, and you see that I have a black piece of paper here, and I'm going to be using a variety of gouache paints in red. I have the carmine red, I have a vermilion red, and I'm using a little bit of Prussian blue to maybe make a purple, and we'll do some white. The first thing we're going to do is use an atomizer or a little spray container to wet this black paper, because this isn't regular watercolor paper, and so I don't really know how it's going to react with too much water. But we'll just spritz it like that, and then we'll get started with a large brush, and we'll just take a little bit of the carmine red and the vermilion and mix them together. And with this gouache paint, which is going to be thicker than normal watercolor paint, wouldn't have quite as much pigment, I'm just going to create a sort of hexagonal form that is six-sided form with the red. As you can see, this form already creates a kind of rose-like shape, and because I have these black areas of the paper showing through, it gives the dimension of the rose itself. But because I want you to experience the vitality of red, I'm going to keep going and create more areas of richer color to bring that feeling of glow in here. And I'm just following what my form has indicated to me to do. And each time I get to the edges, I can change it somewhat so that I am building the rose in an organic fashion, no pun intended, but it is a form of nature, from nature. And so it has to appear somewhat naturally. And we can begin to take just the pure color and use that on the edges of the sections of the petals. To accentuate the distinction between the petals, and they wrap inwards. Now back to the vermilion, and let's add a little bit of intensity there. Look at how luscious that is. That's just fabulous. Love it. And this definitely makes me feel energized, this rich color and the way the form is appearing here. And then you can come back with the dry brush, semi-dry brush, and get a little bit of the Prussian blue to create the shadows. Now, another way that you could create the shadows we saw was by simply drying off the brush and lifting back to the black, which we see is a part of the paper showing through. And a kind of mixture of the two of those is going to probably be the most pleasing. And we keep dividing this rose off. Now it's time to get some green to support it. Now I've taken a little bit of gouache yellow, lemon yellow, and I'm going to just take some of that lemon yellow, put it over here, and I'll mix up my own green. I like to mix my own greens because I find that when I use green straight from the tube, which is possible to get a green, it just doesn't appeal to me quite the same way. And then I'm just going to simply take the green and embed it right up to the red. And of course, we know that green and red are complements. So that's going to give us a very pleasing feeling to have this green supporting the red gestures, and I'm serrating the edges of the leaves a little bit. And I can have some lighter greens by using a little bit more yellow or by watering down the color. And if I want to have veins in the leaves, I can just add blue, or again, I could use the lift-off technique. And I don't have to get too detailed here. I can just suggest what I want. I might even like to outline my leaf somewhat. Now let's look back here into this area of the picture where it's really rich darkness, and that is because, of course, I have used water to create that darkness. But now I'm going to take a little bit of this violet that I create with the Prussian blue and the carmine red, and I'm just going to let that violet sweep in around here. And I can do it quite freely. Sometimes I'll want to even drag it slightly into the rose to create the separations of the petals. And other times I'll just let it surround the green and the red. And now for the final touch, I thought I would use a little white. Let's do an experimentation by taking a very wet brush and some white, and let's just see if we can get a little bit of white. I'm gonna have to have quite a lot of water for this to work because gouache is pretty thick. It's just to get a little variation in the background. This is lifting because you have black paper underneath. And the key in doing this is to make sure that you do just the point sometimes, and then you push down, and then you go back up to the point of your brush. That way you're getting thick and thin lines. The thing is that it just has to wrap, right? It wraps in and around itself. So you can see that just in under 10 minutes, you can create a very beautiful composition on black paper with carmine red and vermilion that will really make you feel energized. And particularly when you put in the complement of green, you'll feel pretty excited. And then just to have fun, try flicking some white into the background, but be careful because you might get white in your rose. I think I'm going to have to come back to this one later when I have time and do a little more work to create my flower, and maybe I'll even add in another bud or something like that. It's helpful if you want to do this to use gouache because it can layer so beautifully on top of itself. And also you might want to look at roses out in nature and then come back and apply what you see. And if you can't do that, just get a picture from the internet and examine how you think the rose should be shaped. But try not to copy your picture. Just think about what is it that makes a rose, and then come back and apply that to your forms. I hope this has been helpful and that you've gotten some good energy from this video.